Alright everybody, we've now gotten through the dark times and talked about the worst and most disappointing movies of the past year. So now let's have a little fun and talk about the 10 best movies of 2021. And just as a little disclaimer, I have decided to break this video into two parts because, well, I talk too much, and in the interest of not making another 30-minute video, I figure it's better if we break these up into two more bite-sized pieces.
Oh my god, shut up!
Alright, starting off my list at number 10 is gonna be Licorice Pizza. And I won't go into too many details here, because this is one of the movies on my list that I did a full review for. So I'll just say that Licorice Pizza definitely caught me by surprise, especially considering I knew next to nothing about this movie going in. It just happened to be one of those boring weekdays where I had nothing going on, so I figured, hey, the title's weird, why not go check this movie out? And in hindsight, I am so glad that I did. This Paul Thomas Anderson film just hit all the right notes for me. For anybody that doesn't know, it is like this coming-of-age teenage dramedy set in the 1970s California. It stars two relatively unknown actors. We have Alana Haim, who is more known as a musician than an actress, and then we have Cooper Hoffman, who is of course the son of the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman. And all it took was one interaction between these two for me to be fully invested in their relationship.
Do you really want to see my boobs?
Can I touch them?
The chemistry between them is just some of the best I saw from any movie in 2021. And this is also a genuinely funny film. Most of the people in my theater were laughing throughout the runtime here. We get some fun side characters and some great cameos from both Sean Penn and Bradley Cooper, who is absolutely hilarious in this movie. And also, this won't be the last time I mention Bradley Cooper on my list. And this is a movie where the plot isn't really important. This movie is all about its characters. The reason I bring that up is because while admittedly there are some scenes that kind of just feel like they were thrown in there as filler, they don't necessarily move the plot forward. To me, that wasn't an issue because A, I really enjoyed the scenes and how they were done, and B, like I said, this movie isn't really about the plot. So great characters and acting performances, excellent writing, and a solid soundtrack cement Licorice Pizza as my number 10 pick.
Do you know who my girlfriend is?
Barbra Streisand?
Barbra Streisand.
Sand.
Sand, yeah, like sands, like the ocean, like
Barbra
beaches.
Streisand?
No, like Streisand.
Sand.
Next on my list at number 9 is gonna be The Tragedy of Macbeth. And this is probably the greatest on-screen adaptation I've ever seen when it comes to the works of Shakespeare. It did a fantastic job of staying true to the story, while also taking a few chances and adding some stuff that for me had a big payoff and made this an even more enjoyable experience. But a big disclaimer here, if you're not familiar with Old English or the story of Macbeth, I would highly recommend you get familiar with the source material, or you're probably not gonna have a good time with this movie.
Fall thy blade on vulnerable crest. I bear a charmed life which must not yield to one a woman born.
Spare thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
See what I mean? So for anybody who's not familiar with Macbeth, I will give you like the shortest bare bones version possible because I don't want this to be an hour-long video. So the story of Macbeth in a very small nutshell is about this Scottish general who gets told by these three witches that he is to become the King of Scotland. So after talking to his wife, he decides to betray and kill the current king and takes the throne for himself. And during the runtime, he becomes increasingly paranoid that people are gonna find out what he has done. So he orders the death of anybody who may suspect him in order to keep his position of power. A classic tale of political tyranny and betrayal. But like I said, that is the very, very, very condensed version of Macbeth. I would recommend anybody give it a read. But anyway, back to the movie. Denzel Washington absolutely steals every scene that he's in as the titular Macbeth. You really feel his descent into madness. Just multiple times throughout this movie, he goes on these monologues that feel like they're about 5 minutes long, and it just makes you think like, damn, he's a great actor. That's right, I know it's a controversial opinion, but I'm gonna say it, Denzel Washington, pretty damn good actor.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
The cinematography and transitions are also big highlights of this film. There are some spectacular shots here, and they do a great job of using these set pieces that are pretty bare bones, but they somehow just feel appropriate and add to the epic nature of this movie. For any fans of Macbeth out there, I cannot recommend this enough.
I run shit here. You just live here. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
All right, taking the number 8 spot on my list, definitely another big surprise, is gonna be Nobody. Sorry, Shang-Chi, but you're only the second best bus scene of 2021. Now, when I first heard that Bob Odenkirk was gonna be in a John Wick clone, I was skeptical to say the least. I'm a huge fan of the actor. Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad are two of my favorite shows of all time. But this just seemed like a strange casting decision, both for the actor and for the movie. But the more I watched, the more I kicked myself for ever doubting the man. It turns out there's nothing he can't do.
I'm like a god in human clothing. Lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips.
And if this feels a little too similar to the John Wick movies, well, there's a reason for that. Bob Odenkirk actually called David Kolstad, the writer of John Wick movies, after seeing them, and he said he wanted to work together, and Nobody was born. And I'm definitely gonna catch some flack for this, but as much as I enjoy the John Wick films, I may prefer this even a little bit more, because as much as I enjoy Keanu Reeves, Bob Odenkirk is just a better actor. Yeah, I said it.
Fuck you.
I never thought I would see the day when Saul Goodman and Doc Brown from Back to the Future are killing just handfuls of Russians like it's a James Bond movie, but hey, I'm here for it. And the buildup of revealing him as a badass was handled so beautifully. The first 20 to 30 minutes of this movie do a great job of making you think he's just like your average 9-to-5 working father. And I especially love the scene when the two robbers break in his house and his son has one of them like in a sleeper hold where he could easily handle them, but he tells his son to let them go. And it's just set up to make you think like he froze in fear, but really he just didn't want to show his kid what he would have done to them. Now, I'm not normally a big action movie type of guy, but Nobody was just a ton of fun that I wasn't expecting. And like I already said briefly, Christopher Lloyd also kicked some serious ass. I don't think it's a series that needs a bunch of sequels, but this is Hollywood we're talking about, so I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a Nobody 2 and Nobody 3 announced in the near future.
Stop making sequels! Seriously!
Coming in at number 7 is gonna be Nightmare Alley. And unlike Licorice Pizza, this will be the last time that I mention Bradley Cooper. Nightmare Alley is set in the 1940s, and it is classified as a noir psychological thriller, which means my interest is immediately piqued, because I love the noir-style filmmaking, and then you add psychological thriller elements on top of that, I'm in. But anyways, Nightmare Alley is set in the 1940s, when Cooper's character Stan Carlisle stumbles upon this traveling carnival, and he joins them because really, he needs a place to sleep. And this movie features a great cast. So if you've ever wanted to see Bradley Cooper, Willem Dafoe, and Ron Perlman as carnies, which, let's be honest, who doesn't want to see that? Well, this is the movie for you. But this truly is a movie of two halves. After Stan learns some tricks on how to deceive people and make himself seem like a clairvoyant, him and his love interest Molly leave the carnival to start a new life where they can put on shows for people. And then after a time jump of a few years, the back half of this movie focuses more on the strained relationship of Stan and Molly, and Stan's meetings with a psychologist, Lilith Ritter, played by Cate Blanchett, who is awesome in this movie. With this cast of all-stars, she may very well be my favorite in the entire movie. She just brings such gravitas to the character, and I just couldn't take my eyes off her every time she was on the screen. It's like she was made for these noir films. But all of the actors turn in masterful performances here. It's just an art style and a movie style that I'm naturally drawn to. And the last half hour hits you with some very unexpected twists and turns. Nightmare Alley is just a film I would highly recommend to somebody looking for something a little bit different than your modern day movie.
You don't fool people, Stan. They fool themselves.
Nightmare Alley.
Now let's talk about something that wasn't even on my radar, and that is of course my number 6 pick, Free Guy. Now I thought I was going to absolutely hate this movie, which is why I actually didn't get around to seeing it until a few weeks ago. But obviously since it's on my list, it ended up being one of my favorite films, and probably my biggest outright surprise of 2021. Free Guy just has so much heart, and the story is way deeper than anything I expected to get from a movie about Ryan Reynolds being an NPC in a video game. I would even go as far as to say, if you consider this like a video game movie, this would probably be my favorite of all time. This is better than, yes, the holy grail of Mortal Kombat 95, the amazing Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I like this even more than Ready Player One. The only way I can describe this movie is like Grand Theft Auto meets The Truman Show with a little Ready Player One and Groundhog's Day thrown in. I know that sounds fucking insane, but it actually works really well when you watch the movie. The characters are great, well, except for that one.
I'm a rule breaker. I'm a rattle chicka snaker.
Okay, kill him!
The action is really well done, and they somehow managed to fit a love story and a story about IP theft in a film that I thought was going to be extremely one note. You get a few cameos and Easter eggs here that I am not going to spoil in this video because they are that good. Also, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it, this film is hilarious. Ryan Reynolds is, well, just being Ryan Reynolds like always.
He's just resting.
In pieces! That man is dead!
He's so sleepy.
But he is one actor, probably along with Vince Vaughn, where that never bothers me. He's just so good at what he does, and if it ain't broke...
Yes. Please go on.
Don't fix it. And what makes this even better is, unlike a film like Mortal Kombat or Sonic the Hedgehog that are just made for fans of those series, this is a movie that you can get enjoyment out of even if you're not a gamer. It just has such an engaging story that keeps its hooks in you the whole time. But if you are a gamer, there are a few moments that you'll appreciate more than most for sure.
Is this what recreational drugs feel like?
Overall, I think Free Guy is just a movie that almost anybody can have a good time with. If you're looking for a video game movie, watch Free Guy. If you're looking for a comedy and Ryan Reynolds, watch Free Guy. If you're looking for The Godfather, well, maybe watch The Godfather.
That I cannot do.
Alright, but that's gonna do it for my first half of my top 10 movies of 2021. As always, if you enjoyed this, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing right over here so you don't miss any future content. And if you want to see some other stuff, some of the reviews I've done on these movies, video game reviews, rankings, stuff like that, you can find a few of those over here. And be sure to come back for when I do the second half of this list, otherwise known as my top 5 movies of 2021.